to make our game kind of have a sense of challenge and progression, we're going to add a score method to our game where whenever you destroy blocks, you add points to your score, and as you add those points to your score, it gets added up as you progress through the levels. So I'm actually going to load up scene 1 right here, and we need to make a few new things. And on this hierarchy, let's make a new empty. And let's call it level manager. This is where we're going to store everything. So say, in addition to the score, maybe you're going to make it so that your ball has multiple lives. Whenever it falls through, you don't immediately die, you get another chance. So maybe there would be like a life bar over here and a score bar over here. This level manager is going to be responsible for keeping track of all of that information. And on our level manager, go ahead and right click and create a UI canvas. And on our UI canvas, right click and create a Text Mesh Pro text. Because our score is going to be text, which is basically the same kind of font as everything else. So I'm just going to grab my robot head font, drag it over here. So now it looks like that. I want my text to be right aligned, and I'm going to move it up to the top corner. But I know usually the best practice for anything like scores or placeholder text is to fill it up with as much text as you think it would normally, like the max it would normally have, so you can get a feel for what it would look like if it was all full up. And you can use zeros, or you can use like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then a 0. It's a very long score, but I'm going to use 6 zeros. I think that it's unlikely that with the scores I'm going to give that it's going to reach much higher than that. And then I'm just going to drag it up to the top right-hand corner of my canvas, try to put it in a good spot. I don't know that I like that it's just white, because I think on my future levels, I want to be able to make it so that my text will show up on anything. I'm going to give it just like a light stroke, maybe make it like a red. I don't know. I'm not positive on this. I'm gonna leave it black for now. I might tweak that later. It's not something you need to sit here and watch me do, but just to make it a little bit more standing out. And of course, there's all these other settings that if you want to play with them, go for it. That's all up to you. How your game looks is all kind of your choice. So let's change this text to score text. And I don't need to change my canvas name, but score text. And let's make a script down here. And we're going to put it on our level manager object. So let's name it level manager. So create C# script, level manager, and open it up. So this level manager script, we need to make it so that, oh, I made it an underline. Why did I do that? That was weird of me. I'm going to, I'll leave it. It's not going to hurt anything. I just need to remember that I named it something weird. Try to keep your names consistent. I might run into some troubles later because I've named it something oddball, but that's all right. All right, I can work with this. So, things we need to do. We need to set up a score system. So we need to have an idea of what a score is and how we add to the score. We also need to get access to our Text Mesh Pro text that we have on our canvas. So we know that whenever you use Text Mesh Pro text, that we need to use using TM Pro. If you are using just regular text, you didn't add like a Text Mesh Pro style font, then that's fine. You don't need the using TM Pro. I'll note where else we need to change some information later on here in a minute. All right, so we need some serialized fields. We're going to make this first one an integer, and we're going to call it current score, because we need an idea of what our current score is at any given point. And we'll just go ahead and start that at 0, because anytime you start a level, Whenever you're playtesting, you want to start it at 0. So that makes the most sense. Another serialized field. This one's also going to be an integer, and we're going to call this one points per block. This is how many points we get per block destroyed. And all of them are going to be worth the same amount. So that's fine. And then serialized field for our last one. And this is where it's going to differ if you're not using Text Mesh Pro. You'll put just text here. But we are using Text Mesh Pro, so we need to use Text Mesh Pro UGUI to get access to our text element. And we're going to call this score text. So this is how we're going to drag in our score text element from our canvas, just like you did for the number guessing game. It's a very similar whole idea. All right, so the one problem we're going to run into with just this script is that there's no way for us to access any information that the blocks are getting destroyed. So we need to make a public void on this script that our blocks can activate whenever they crush something. And we also, on this script, need to have a way to update the score whenever that happens. So on void start, let's go ahead and make a new method called update score. And then come down here under update and make that method private void update score. And put our curly brackets. And in this, we need to get access to our score text dot text. So the text element on our score text game object. We're going to take our current score and turn it into a string. Just like it literally exactly the same way that we did it in the game, or in the number guessing game. It's the same, it's literally the exact same script. So on our update, do we need anything here? No, not just yet. Under our update, let's make a that public method, public void. So this can be accessed from outside of this particular class. We're going to call this one add to score. And in here, we need to set up what's going to happen whenever the block gets collided with and breaks. So we are going to use current score, and we're going to say plus equals, meaning add your current score to the points per block. Done. And then once we do that, we need to go ahead and update the score again, because right now we're only updating the score at the start. So if we left it like this, it would stay 0 forever. But if we do it every time we add points per block, then we need to update the score again. So every time it's called, it'll update the score. We do need one more piece of code to make this work, and that is on our robot. Whenever the block is destroyed, that's where we want to go ahead and add the score. So we need to grab a hold of that public method that we just made. To do that, we're going to use find object of type. I'm going to use the angle brackets, and we're going to call it, we're looking for underscore level manager, or in your case, if you didn't name it something super weird like me, then regular level manager, dot add to score. It's the method that we just made in level manager called add to score. So let's see how this looks right now in our game. So on our level manager, we will eventually, once the code compiles, well, we need to add our level manager script to it, right? So let's grab this, drag it over here. Got it. All right. And we need our score text to be attached right here, so that whenever level manager is looking for it, it can find that score text. If we hit play, it should reset to 0. Yes. Now whenever we break blocks, it should add to the score. Boop. And I died. Okay. So that did exactly what I want it to do. Now, the problem that we're going to run into next is that whenever we go to the next scene, what happens when Unity loads scenes is that everything gets destroyed and then it just loads everything into the next scene. That way you're not carrying around extra trash with you that you don't need between scenes. It just kills everything. So on our level 2 and level 3, we need these level managers, but we also need the information in the level manager to carry over between things. So let's add level manager as a prefab so that we have this, and save, and go over to our level 2 and drag in our level manager and gotta save it before we move on, don't we? And then drag in our level manager here and save it. Go back to our level 1, and let me see if I can do this real quick, make it an example. So if I give myself some points, okay. Well, if I give myself some points, what should happen is the points will still reset, because even though that level manager is in the next scene, that information is not there for it to access. There we go. Okay, so the score reset back to 0. Perfect. So not perfect for what we want, but perfect for the sake of this example. So going back into our script, we need to look at our level manager script, and we need to make a way for our script to stay alive between the scenes. And the way to do that is we set up what's called a singleton pattern. A singleton pattern is a type of code that basically we can use it to tell our object not to destroy itself, and make it so that we can keep persistent information on our game. So before start, we're going to make a private void, and it's going to be called awake. This is actually a Unity private void that is already this is a method that they already have. This is the very first thing that will run whenever our object gets loaded into the screen. So I'm going to type this out, and I'll explain it probably at the end a little bit better than as I'm typing it out. So just kind of follow along. So we're going to need an integer, and we'll call it level manager number equals find objects of type. It has to be objects. It cannot be an object. It has to be a plural objects, or else it will not work. We are looking for the script underscore, in my case, underscore level. See, this is how it's getting me in trouble. I'm not used to having an underscore on it. We're looking for the script level manager, and we're looking for length, which we've kind of used a little bit, the concept of counting the number of things with length, and whenever we were counting the number of scenes available to us in our Choose Your Own Adventure. So .length is basically saying, look for these scripts and tell me how many there are. And then we're going to say if the level manager number is greater than 1, if there is more than one of these scripts, then we need to destroy, and then in parentheses, game object. If there are more than one, then destroy it. Else, we don't destroy on load the game object. So this is a really cool pattern that basically says if there's more than one of these things, get rid of the extras. Otherwise, we're going to keep one persistent one that keeps loading on every screen and should add to our score. So I saved this. I'm going to go back into Unity, and I'm going to make my scene really easy to get through so that I can, for the sake of showing you what this is going to be like, I'm going to just move some things out of my scene. So just going to grab these guys and drag them straight up so they're out of my way. And I'm pretty certain that I could probably hit those green robots and move on to the next scene. I'm also going to grab this moving robot, and I'm just going to move him up here for now. He'll move around up there, it's fine, but I don't want him in my scene. All right, so now you see it turned into don't destroy on load, which is perfect. I'm going to add score and hopefully beat my level. Nope, okay. I'm going to add to the score and try to beat my level. And 200, and then I can add to that score as we go along. And it will continue loading between scenes. I do have it on this last scene, and I think it would be kind of neat if I move this or maybe add to it an element that says high score, and it'll list your high score at the end of your game over scene, which would be kind of fun. So that's basically just you've made your first singleton pattern. Hooray! I'm going to drag these guys back down. Boop, 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 boop. I'm going to make that one there. Grab my moving robot. Let you come back down here so you can continue pacing. All right. Save this scene. We're basically all good there. So now we have a scene where we have the game over scene. So let's go ahead and open that and see if we can do our high score. So let's take, I'm going to take for a minute this level manager script and drag it into here because it won't matter. It'll destroy the extra one whenever it gets here. But I want this for reference so that I can add more canvas elements onto it. So we've got this canvas already. So let's use the one that we already have. No sense in putting extra stuff on that we don't need. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. So I'm going to add on this canvas a UI, text mesh pro text, drag it up, drag it over. Let's give it its matchy font, drag my robot head font in, right. I'm actually, let's move everything. So what's really nice about this is that I can move things on this scene and not have to worry about messing up anything else. Move this game over text. And then put my text mesh pro text. Let's go ahead and make it right aligned because I don't want it to be too far away from the text that it's going to be next to. New text. Yeah, okay. And I want this to say high score, boop. So now it looks like whenever you get to this last scene, it'll tell you what your high score was. Perfect. Something else that we can use our level manager for is we talked about earlier, and some of you might have already started looking into this idea, is adding some background music. So what I want to challenge you to do is to add some background music to your game. Here is a couple of tips for that, though. You know how to make sounds, obviously, because on your ball, remember you added an audio source and you dragged your clip in there, and then you used the script on your ball to run that whenever a thing happens. So let's look at your ball script real quick. So this code right here just says get component, audio source, play. Perfect. So if we want to use this information, think about the fact that whenever you finish a level, you don't want the song to restart every time, right? You want it to continue loading. And conveniently, we just made an object that will stay in the scene forever. So your tip is that you need to add your audio clip that you are creating for your background music onto your level manager because it won't be destroyed. And then that way it will continue running. So that's your challenge to complete before next time. I will go ahead and add some background music to mine, and we have a pretty much polished game. From here, we're going to add a few more things just because there's always stuff to add. In particular, we're going to look at adding more levels and talk about how to make your game feel like a natural progression of challenge. I'm going to create a new enemy and see how that affects my gameplay. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing. See you next time, I guess.